Black Widow is a 2021 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics books character of the same name. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, it is the 24th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film was directed by Cate Shortland from a screenplay by Eric Pearson and stars Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. Set after the events of Captain America Civil War in 2016, the film sees Romanoff on the run and is forced to confront her past as a spy and the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. Lionsgate Films began developing Black Widow film in 2004, with David Hayter attached to write and direct. The project did not move forward, and the character's film rights and reverted to Marvel Studios by June 2006. Johansson was cast in the role for several MCU films, beginning with Iron Man 2 in 2010, and began discussing a solo film with Marvel. Work began in late 2017, with Shortland hired in 2018. Jack Schaefer and Ned Benson contributed to the script before Pearson was hired. Filming took place from May to October 2019 in Norway, Budapest, Morocco, Pinewood Studios in England, and Atlanta, and in Rome, Georgia. Black Widow premiered at events around the world on June 29, 2021, and was released in the United States on July 9, simultaneously in theaters and through Disney Plus with Premier Access. It is the first film in the Phase 4 of the MCU and was delayed 3 times from its original May 2020 release due date due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Black Widow broke several pandemic box office records and grossed $379 million worldwide. The film received positive reviews from critics, with praise for its performances, particularly those of Johansson and Pugh, and the action sequences. In July 2021, Johansson filed a lawsuit against Disney over the simultaneous release, both theatrically and on Disney Plus, the streaming network. Johansson alleged that this breached stipulation in her contract that the film receive exclusive theatrical release. The suit stated that simultaneous release exempted Disney from paying a very large box office bonuses that Johansson would have reportedly been entitled to. The suit, however, was settled 2 months later. The cast includes Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, or Black Widow, an Avenger highly trained former KGB assassin and the former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Johansson said she was going out on a high note and she was proud of the film, feeling that her work portraying Romanoff was now complete. To describe the film as an opportunity to show the character as a woman who has come into her own and is making independent and active choices for herself while being in a dark place with no one to call, and felt the character's vulnerability set her apart from others in the Avengers. Director Cate Shortland watched all of Romanoff's MCU appearances consecutively in preparation for the film and chose to set the story where Romanoff is alone and not in relation to anyone. Shortland said Romanoff's ambiguous psychological journey was the center of the story. Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, a sister to Romanoff who was trained in the Red Room as a Black Widow. Johansson said Belova was an early inclusion in the film who could stand on her own in comparison to Romanoff. Pugh said there was generational differences between the two and described Belova as unapologetic and confident in herself and curious and emotionally brave. Pugh admires Belova's bluntness and determination and noted that the character is a skilled fighter but does not know how to live a normal life. Shortland said that Romanoff would be handing Belova the baton in the film. And Pugh looked to Johansson for guidance during filming on meeting the demands of making Marvel movies. David Harbour as Alexei Shostakov, or Red Guardian, the Russian super soldier counterpart to Captain America and a father figure to Romanoff and Belova. Harbour said Red Guardian was not heroic or noble and was both comically and tragically flawed. Shostakov claims that he fought Captain America in the 1980s, and screenwriter Eric Pearson feels the character believed that this was true despite it being impossible. For Harbour's portrayal, he and Shortland discussed Ricky Gervais' performance in The Office and Philip Seymour Hoffman's in The Savages in 2007, comedy that comes out of real domestic need. Harbour had already grown his facial hair for the 4th season of Stranger Things, and he gained weight to 127 kilograms or 280 pounds. He then lost 60 pounds, 27 kgs, after the course of filming to portray a younger version of the character for the film's opening flashback sequence. Olga Kurylenko as Antonia Dreykov, or Taskmaster, Dreykov's daughter, who completes missions for the Red Room. She has a photographic reflexes that allows her to mimic opponents' fighting styles and uses techniques from superheroes such as Iron Man, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Spider-Man, and Black Panther. Several body doubles were required to portray the character's various skills. Kurylenko said much of Antonia's pain is internal and described her relationship with Dreykov as abusive, since Dreykov uses her as a tool and has her do whatever he wants. Taskmaster is revealed to be Antonia in the film instead of the comic book counterpart Tony Masters, since Masters is a mercenary that did not fit into the film's story and was more natural to Pearson to tie Taskmaster into a loose end from Natasha's past. Ray Winstone as Dreykov, a Russian general and head of the Red Room, Pearson felt the film needed a villain that could fit within this time frame, undetected, so as to avoid contradicting the events of Avengers Infinity War in 2018. He described Dreykov as a coward who is puppeteering things from the shadows and does not care about hunting others. And Rachel Weisz as Milena Vostokov, a seasoned spy training in the Red Room as a Black Widow and a mother figure to Romanoff and Belova, who is now one of the Red Room's leading scientists. Compared to Vostokov's comic book counterpart, who becomes a supervillain, Iron Maiden, Weisz felt the film's version was more ambiguous and layered, with a deadpan personality and no sense of humour, which Weisz found amusing. Weisz was given a full-tailored Black Widow suit for the film, which she called iconic piece of clothing that was a lot to live up to. Weisz reworked Vostokov's portrayal to be more affectionate towards Shostakovich rather than dismissive. Now, I was really excited going into this film. I've been a big fan of the Black Widow character throughout the MCU series, and I really thought Scarlett Johansson had portrayed the character perfectly. She had always had a sort of deeper, darker background that was always fascinating to look at, and also she didn't really have any superhero powers, as it were. She was just highly trained and highly skilled. Unfortunately, Black Widow's deeper and darker themes are completely drowned out here in all of the over-the-top action sequences. I was really hoping now that the MCU would rather focus on character development and move away from its usual tropes of bombastic action sequences and overuse of CGI, rather in favour of a layered, nuanced film about a flawed superhero. The film sort of feels hollow for me and almost like an apology after they killed off, of course, Romanoff in the Avengers Endgame. So going into it knowing full well that this character now no longer exists within the MCU is, well, just rather odd and strange. And I will miss Johansson's portrayal of Black Widow within the MCU series, as she always did it so well. Now, in terms of the rest of the cast, Weisz is always such a good actor, so for me, even the most ridiculous dialogue, she can make it work. I love the addition here of David Harbour. He is so good in Stranger Things. But here you can see he's really having a lot of fun playing this hyped-up Russian character, and he's really become quite a sort of good action star in his own right. I do, however, feel that this is a waste of a film for a talented actor like Ray Winstone, who just sort of plays more of the same. And this is the atypical Hollywood take on the Russians, making them to be bland, robotic people that have no sort of free will and just do what they're told. For me, my least favourite character, though, unfortunately, has to be Florence Pugh. I actually think she's a very talented actress, but here she plays on the usual Russian tropes, and using this fake accent just really got to me. I found her character just somewhat annoying within the whole movie. For me, I think what I was hoping to see was a dark espionage type of film that really focused on the emotional trauma of Natasha Romanoff's upbringing, that how she learned to hone her skills and develop her abilities to become one of the Avengers and the only female member as well. Instead, here we have a bland film that relies on huge, like I said, action sequences and the usual MCU tropes rather than character development. And for me, that is just somewhat disappointing. Frankly, I would have rather had my last memory of Black Widow in the MCU being that fantastic emotional scene with Hawkeye in Avengers Endgame. Drab, dull, favouring action over character development, and playing off the usual Russian clichés, Black Widow is a disappointment and a sad farewell to a fantastic character. Black Widow gets a 5 out of 10.